What is faith? Well, welcome to my friendly neighborhood pond. What is faith? How would you define it? I was thinking about that, and I think I would define faith as seeing the coming destruction and structuring your life accordingly. Seeing the coming destruction and structuring your life accordingly. Jesus said, "I have come to set the world on fire, and how I wish it were already burning." I've come to set the world on fire, and how I wish it were already burning. Sorry for the wind noise if it's a bit windy here, guys. It's not one of the most popular quotes attributed to Jesus. I've come to set the world on fire. How are you going to respond to that news? How are you going to structure your life in response to that news today? Do you believe it's true? At the end of the day, it's news. You might believe it's fake news. That's fine. You might believe it's real news. You might think it's just news for the distant future. Where in the prophets does it say that? It's in one of the minor prophets, I think, where the people say, "Oh, well, the Lord is prophesying this for the distant future." It doesn't apply to us right now. Isn't it? It's funny how we think, oh, it's only going to happen way in the future. Yeah, Jesus is going to come back. He might set the world on fire, but everything's okay right now. I mean, look how peaceful this pond is, and yeah, it's a bit windy, but there's no fire coming from the sky. Everything's okay, and everything's gonna continue the way it's always been. Like my grandparents, my parents, way back, yeah, the world wars were a long time ago, but ever since then things have been getting better, right? Everything's kind of going on the up and up, and I mean, my day's the same as yesterday, so I'm not gonna worry about that. That's news. If it happens, it's gonna happen way in the future, right? There are Bible passages about all of these different attitudes, right? So it's important to read the Bible. But if a person doesn't want to respond to news, that's their choice, right? How are you going to respond to that news? Are you just going to say, well, yeah, I don't know, I think everything's going to be okay, or are you going to make some changes? One of my favorite stories in the Bible is the story of Rahab the prostitute. You know the story, right? Joshua and his army are outside the city of Jericho, right? The city of Jericho is a walled city, and there was a prostitute in the city named Rahab. And the people of Jericho had heard about how God rescued his people from Egypt, right? How he did wondrous signs and, brought them through the sea, through the desert and everything like that. And they killed mighty kings there on the east side of the Jordan River. And now they crossed the river, or they're right there, because Jericho is basically right on the west side of the Jordan River there. And it says in the text in Joshua chapter 2, that's where the story is. Look at this pile of garbage, guys. That's not faith. That's garbage. So Joshua chapter 2, and Rahab says that everybody in the city is in fear. Everybody is in fear because they've heard what God has done has taken the Israelites to that point. And now the Israelites are just right over there, and the people are all afraid. But she welcomes them, and she responds to the coming destruction, right? And she pleads with them, right? She sees an opportunity. She seizes an opportunity to maybe survive, right? So I was going to say that, a lot of people think faith is like maybe loving God, or, your level of confidence in God, right? You might say, well, that person has really strong faith. My faith is maybe like a 4 out of 10, but that person's faith, or my grandma's faith, is like, 9.5 out of 10, right? So it's kind of, people tend to measure faith on a scale like that, or they think of faith that way, think, oh, my faith isn't enough. But that might be true, all of that stuff, loving God, having confidence in God, all that's a good thing. But at bottom, faith is fear. The fear of God, right? Nowhere in Joshua chapter 2, nowhere in the whole story does it say Rahab loved God or Rahab was confident in God. I mean, she heard the news, right? And she responded to it. She wanted to respond to it. It's not that she was like confident that they were going to save her. Even in the text, she says that she wants a sure sign. She says, give me a sure sign. Like that when you come and because she said, you know, we know, or I know that God is going to give you this land. So we're toast, right? We're the bad guys here. We're toast. Give me a sure sign that I'm going to be saved. Me and my family are going to be saved, right? And then the spies, it's interesting that they go to a house of a prostitute, isn't it? Their first stop in the city, the house of a prostitute. But anyway, they tell the prostitute, hang a scarlet cord out of your, like a scarlet rope or a cloth. I don't know what exactly it was, but that, hang it out of your window. Then we know that's the house. And then you and everybody in that house will be saved. Right? So, because her house was like part of the wall, right? And so then she ends up being saved. But it's just interesting. I was thinking about that. You know, there's nothing in the story that would lead us to believe that she loved God or she, you know, desired to join God's people, really. I mean, it was like, hey, we're going to be destroyed. It was fear. She said, you know, we're all afraid of this. So that's kind of at bottom, I would say that's what faith is. It's seeing the coming destruction. It's responding to God. What's he going to do? Well, we have to find out. That's why we read the Bible and we see what's going to happen, right? It's structuring our life. And I use the word structure because, like, Rahab wasn't the only person in the city who was afraid. Everybody else was afraid too, but she seized the opportunity. She saw a way out, or a potential way out. Like I said, she wasn't that confident. So don't think of faith as like being like ultra confident. You know, sometimes you see these people on TV or these popular pastors or speakers and they seem so confident, right? Don't get sidetracked by comparing your confidence with their confidence. It's just read the stories in the Bible. That's really where your confidence should lie. Read these stories of real people, honest people, and say, hey, I have hope, right? So seeing the coming destruction, you know, when I read the news every day and when I see the way events are shaping up, it's pretty clear that well, yeah, the world's gonna be on fire, you know. So take those words seriously, guys, and structure your life in response to those. Jesus said, I've come to set the world on fire, and how I wish it were already burning. That means it's not already burning, but it's going to be burning. Now, the whole world's not going to just be scrapped. It's not that he hates the world and he's just going to get rid of the whole world. No, he's going to renew the world, right? That garbage dump's not going to be there, right? All these plastic bags and everything, death, sorrow, crying, you know, it's very clear that all of that's going to pass away, and like the world is going to be changed. Just the surface of the world, I think, is going to be changed. It's not going to be God's, like I said, not going to scrap the whole earth. It's just going to be somehow made new, you know, because God is the one who makes everything new. It says in the Psalms, when you send forth your spirit, they are created. You renew the face of the ground. That's what it says. I like that phrase. You renew the face of the ground. So sometimes the ground looks really weary. Everything's kind of dying, you know. Everything just seems like kind of desolate sometimes. But the good news is that there's life and renewal coming, and there is a way out. So we have to find out what's our, it all depends on your relationship to Joshua, right? There's Joshua's there. Is there any way I can get on Joshua's good side, or is there anything I can do? Like I said, she welcomed the spies, right? She responded to the situation with fear and trembling. which is how you should work out your salvation, right? That's what it says in the New Testament. Work out your salvation with fear and trembling, just like Rahab the prostitute did, right? In Psalm 2, it says, now therefore, O kings, be wise, be warned, O rulers of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry and you perish in the way. See, that's the recipe right there, right? It's fear. And when you look at the kings of the earth, they don't fear God. None of these leaders fear God, right? Very few people fear God. You know, all these people living in these houses around here. I mean, very few of them fear God. So that's where it starts. Fear God, rejoice. Why rejoice? Because there's good news. There's a way out. There's a way to get on the good side of the king who's coming, right? He doesn't just want to destroy the world, sweep life away. There's a verse in, I think it's 1 Samuel, is it 2 Samuel? Where it says, God doesn't just sweep life away. Rather, he devises ways to bring us back to him when we've been separated from him. So God doesn't just want to destroy the world. He doesn't take pleasure, how does it go? Something like the Lord doesn't take pleasure in the death of the wicked, right? Rather, he wants us to come back, right? That's the whole, I mean, the reconciliation, the death of Jesus reconciling us. He reconciled us from the kingdom of darkness to the kingdom of the Son he loves, right? The kingdom of light. So guys, it's this really good news. Just take Psalm 2, kiss the Son, lest he be angry and you perish in the way. I would say it starts with fear. So that's kind of the basis of it, right? Like it says throughout the book of Proverbs, fear is the beginning of wisdom. And it's not just being afraid, it's fearing God, the coming one. You know, when if a person just, you know, looks around, they don't see God, right? But that's what Hebrews 11, the faith chapter, right? It starts by saying, now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the confidence of things unseen. Did I get the wording right? So we don't see God, right? But that's what it's substance. You're structuring your life a certain way because you have hope. You see there's a hope, there's a way out, right? So you structure your life on that hope. Loud car driving past. And you put your confidence in things unseen, right? Like with the people of Jericho, if they were just looking around, they wouldn't have seen Joshua's army right there, right? They weren't there yet. That's why Joshua sent the spies to scope out the land, right? They were still, I don't know how many kilometers away they were, but the people, they were fearful because they knew it was there, even though they didn't see it. They had heard the news, right? And so we need to respond to the news when the king is close. And actually just today I was reading in I think Matthew chapter 20 of the two blind men who were at Jericho, right? Interesting connection there, right? They're I think out at the gates of Jericho, and Jesus is there, and they start shouting, "Son of David, have mercy on us. Son of David, have mercy on us." And then Jesus says to them, you know, what do you want? And they say, we want to see. And then Jesus heals them. He restores their sight. So it's interesting that that's Jericho, because they were already living in desolation, right? Those two men, they couldn't see anything. They were already, it's not that they was like their life was good and there was the coming destruction. No, their life was already, they had already lost their eyesight. They were living in darkness already, but they saw the light, right? They knew the light was passing, and they structured their life accordingly. They just were following. Hey, Son of David, have mercy. I think in one of the Gospels it says they were following and just like shouting, and the crowd finally, the crowd kind of wanted to send them away because they were being annoying, and then Jesus healed them. So that's what faith is. It's seeing the coming destruction or experiencing the coming. If you're experiencing darkness or desolation, you know, that's just the name of the game, calling on the name of the Lord. The Bible's very clear. All who call on the name of the Lord will be saved. That's the good news, guys. And really, I mean, I wouldn't say I have a huge amount of faith in the typical maybe definition of the word, like a lot of like joy and hope and confidence and that. But I very clearly see the coming destruction of the world. I think it's in the book of Zephaniah where God says, I will bring a sudden end to all who live on the earth. Right? It's just going to be sudden destruction. So how exactly that's going to play out, you know, when a person just looks at a nice day like this, we don't know. But anyway, just wanted to share those thoughts with you today and ask you, how would you define faith? You know, like I said, I think people define it different ways, but at bottom, it's fear, and it's a fear of God, and the fear of not just fear, but you respond to the fear by structuring your life accordingly, which means maybe you don't go here, or you don't do this, you don't eat that, you don't drink this, you don't smoke that, you don't get into that relationship, you don't, you know, most of us have made so many mistakes in life, but we kind of learn, and we need to actually learn from those mistakes and to just say, okay, if I keep doing things my way, that leads to death and desolation, destruction. But if I follow God, that leads to life, wholeness, peace, joy, right? So guys, with those thoughts, a bid farewell from my friendly neighborhood pond. So guys, God bless you guys, and have a great day.